It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better. I can't wait. Making my move. Live for the day. Sing like a bird. Fly like a plane. Come spill with me, Jenny D.
Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me with another episode on Spill With Me, Jenny D. I am just so excited and delighted to have my guest here today. Missy and I met, actually, I think I saw some of your videos, and I think you reached out to me.
Stacy Finnegan reached out to
Yes. Stacy Finnegan. She messaged me on Facebook. She said, Jen, you need to know this woman. You need to try to help this woman. And then I said, listen, I'm a mom. I'm all about my mommies. And, mommy power, we need to advocate. We need to support each other, and we need to be there. And anytime I hear something like the story that you're going to tell us about is that, we even if we have $5 or $1 or whatever, every little bit counts. And I really want people to know about the awareness and about what you are trying to accomplish today. So, Missy, introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Missy Ramirez. I am a school psychologist by day for middle schoolers and high schoolers. And then by night, I am a mom, a wife, and a rare disease advocate. And focusing on the space of IPEX. My son has a life-threatening rare disease called IPEX, and currently there's not a treatment or a cure, but we are fighting so hard that I think that we're close, and he has gone through some clinical trials, and one clinical trial, the phase 1 clinical trial at Stanford University, and we are here raising awareness, talking about just what people can do. We're getting resources in front of families because early resources means a longer life. Early resources just really means better care for our children.
I totally understand. Now, when you say IPEX, some people might be listening or viewing this and think, what is IPEX? Can you explain that to us?
Sure. IPEX is, again, an incredibly rare autoimmune disorder that's life-threatening. It only impacts boys, and it's 1 in 1.6 million.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And really, when we think about autoimmunity, we always think that there's something underperforming, when in fact, with IPEX, his body is overperforming. And in fact, it's in a constant battle with itself. So any virus that enters the body, his body fights it, but then kills off something around it. So as a result of IPEX, he now has type 1 diabetes, myasthenia gravis, and there's just countless other autoimmunities waiting to happen in response to a virus.
So how did you know when he was born? Did the doctors already know?
They did not know.
I know. Get into that, because
yeah, that was a
That's
journey.
hard.
It was hard. It was hard, and it's still hard. We're grieving parents, to be honest with you. I think there's this level of grief that society doesn't necessarily recognize, and it's called disenfranchised grief. So it's the idea that I'm grieving something that I didn't quite lose in tangibly, but I still have loss, right? And so at 2.5 years old, Jax was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And the way that happened was he went into DKA, which is typical for a presentation of type 1 diabetes.
How old was he?
He was 2.5.
Oh, geez.
And by the time that it all happened in essentially one day, he was fine. And by the afternoon, he was not. And we had him rushed by ambulance to Children's Hospital, where we stayed for weeks learning how to manage a toddler with type 1 diabetes. And I kept saying, this doesn't feel right.
Right, like how would a toddler get type 1 diabetes?
They told me that that's how he was born, and this was just going to happen anyway. And then at one point, a nurse had said, and I was holding my newborn baby Lincoln at the time, they said, Mom, sometimes type 1 diabetes presents itself when, the child has experienced an emotional triggering event, like the birth of a sibling. And so I carried that with me for a long time, thinking that because we brought another child into the world, I triggered his type 1 diabetes. When in fact,
That sounds ridiculous to me.
very
Missy.
ridiculous. But in the throes of sitting in that hospital for 17 days, watching him in a coma. I mean, he was in a coma. I didn't think he was going to survive it, to be honest with you. I had no choice. And so we just learned to live with type 1 diabetes, and we were learning how to count carbs and do all of these things. And if you know anyone with type 1 diabetes, you know that they are constantly thinking about how much insulin, how many carbs, are you going to go low? Do we have emergency glucagon in the event? Like, we've had to use emergency glucagon with Jax, which means his blood sugar went so low he went catatonic.
Do you do a blood test, or how do you do it?
So right now he's got medical devices on him, but prior to that, you were checking his blood sugar every couple of hours, and it happened overnight. So he actually went catatonic and was shaking, and I had to give him emergency glucagon. 911 had come.
Oh my gosh.
So we were experiencing all of these things, and none of it made sense. And so we kept asking why, like what is happening in his body that is creating this?
Right.
And, from type 1 diabetes to 5, when we learned about IPEX, he had almost lost his life so many times. He went through so many traumatic medical events. Doctors were surprised that he was still alive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because people with IPEX don't live?
People with IPEX generally don't live past 1.
Oh my goodness.
But we still didn't know he had IPEX at the time. He was just experiencing all of these traumatic medical events. I mean, sometimes we would be in the hospital for 20, 30 days. And I joke, I probably own a parking space at Children's Hospital with the amount of time and money we spent at the hospital.
But the worry as parents, not knowing, like, oh my gosh, is he going to survive this?
Correct. I never thought I would see him live to 5 or go to kindergarten.
You're going to make me cry. Stop.
Truly, I remember thinking, like, what am I going to do if he doesn't make it to kindergarten?
You know what, though? You are a strong mom, and you are out there, and you are preaching to everyone because you don't want this to happen to somebody else.
Correct.
Where they get like misdiagnosed with the type 1 diabetes.
Type 1, IPEX.
How did you finally find out that it really wasn't about that?
So a couple of years later, so we went through some traumatic medical events, and then Jax was diagnosed with another autoimmune disorder called myasthenia gravis, which usually only occurs within the elderly. He lost total function of his eye movement, and it can impact his speech, his breathing, his chewing, all of that. And he ended up in the hospital again. And so after that, I really started to press medical professionals we needed to find the root. This just wasn't bad luck any longer.
Right.
So we were hooked up with Dr. Hae Chung through Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. And she was like, Mom, I'm going to do a small genetic panel. I don't think that this is it, but we're just going to do this anyway. So when you do a genetic panel, it takes a couple of weeks, couple of months to come back. And she called me in October of that year. And she said, we need to talk, but I don't want to talk about this over the phone.
And that scares you.
It scares me, but
you're
I
like,
thought,
what is it going to be now?
Right. But we had so many bad phone calls. I didn't think I was getting a life-threatening diagnosis with no cure.
And you're like, I can take it.
Yeah. I was like, I
been
can
through
take
enough.
it, sister. Like, just
Yes.
hit it. And they
Give
didn't
it
want
to me.
to. So when I log in to the meet, they were crying. And I knew it was bad from the start. And she said, don't Google this.
Don't ever say don't Google this.
And as soon as she said, don't Google this, I said, okay, I won't. And I trust you. And they told me it was IPEX. They told me it was life-threatening. They told me I have IPEX.
Jesus.
My husband was at home with the boys, so he was not with me on the call. It was after work. I will never forget the sight, smell, what I was wearing, what the room felt like, what the temperature was, and how they described to me what IPEX is. And then when they said, well,
How did you not know you had it though?
because women don't show symptoms.
Oh my gosh.
So it's genetically passed from females to their male sons. then said, you have another son. You need to get him tested. It's often common for families to have 2 children with IPEX. So there I was, panic stricken because
Like, oh my gosh, my other son now. Like, you don't want to hear that.
Well, and then when they said, the only possible treatment is a blood stem cell transplant. And I was like, okay, so we can get a transplant. And she said, not exactly. And I said, explain. And she said, well, Jax is diverse. He has a diverse background, and there are no matches on the blood stem cell registry as it stands today. And I was like, so we don't even have an option of a transplant. And what I'm finding is that's fairly common for kids like Jax, right? So the blood stem cell registry, if you are Caucasian, if you are white, 95% chance you're going to find a match on the registry.
Right.
It's just not diverse enough to offer that to everybody else. And I sat with that for a long time. Right. So I had to get Lincoln tested to see if he was a match for Jax, because he had a 25% chance to be a match.
I was going to say, did you find out, did he have IPEX too?
He does not have IPEX, and he was not a blood stem cell match for Jax.
Oh, no.
So we got that bad news. Well, good news and bad news.
Right.
But I kept saying, I can't celebrate Lincoln not having IPEX because there's too much. There's just too much Jax at stake. And so I sat with it for a couple of weeks. I got my close family on the blood stem cell registry, NMDP.
Right.
The other females in my family had to be tested for IPEX. A lot of us came out positive.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder now as moms when we do deliver, like, we should get it checked.
We should get it checked. Honestly, you should have that
Oh my
checked,
gosh.
especially if it's in the family history. So then this poor genetic counselor said to me after she says he has IPEX, there's no matches. She said, do you plan on having other children? Because if you do, we're going to have to get you a genetic counselor because of the risks of your other boys having IPEX. And I said, listen, lady, this train is over. Like,
Yes.
we're stopping here.
You're right. You're
and
like,
I
my
need
heart
to focus.
cannot take more of this.
My heart cannot take more, and I need to find a pathway to life for my oldest son. So that was the next cross I was going to bear for him. And my husband and I have always been clear, he's not going to feel the weight of his diagnoses. We will carry that for him.
Yes.
So this was just another cross to bear.
And that, and being a mom and knowing that you had nobody would have known that. It wasn't like you get tested before you get pregnant to even know that.
And I had all of the genetic panels done for both boys, but that is not part of the genetic panel. So I wish it would be included.
I don't understand that now.
Physicians, if you're listening, you should really include that.
I know. Do you feel like now doing the research that you're like, wait a minute, this is not, like, this is happening to more and more people?
This is happening to more and more people. Because I've been so loud on social media about IPEX and the rare disease space, because we aren't talked about a lot, I have so many moms approaching me saying, my son had IPEX and he's subsequently passed away. Or, my sister's son has IPEX and he's not well. So I have lots and lots of people reaching out. So I'm starting to think that IPEX is not as rare as we think. I think it's just underdiagnosed.
Right. Or people they don't know what happened. And that's the one thing as parents, we want some answers. We want to know what's going on because we would never know that. How would we ever know that?
We would never know that. One thing I will say for moms listening, if you have a son with type 1 diabetes, you should have your son screened for IPEX.
Yes.
Because if the hallmark signs of IPEX, now that we understand it, it affects 4 areas. You'll have type 1 diabetes. That's usually classic, and it usually comes at at birth. So you might have neonatal diabetes.
Oh my gosh.
You might have your thyroid impacted. You'll have allergies or eczema, and then gut disease. And that gut disease is usually the worst.
Oh my gosh. So now you found out with the genetic testing by the doctor at Children's Hospital when Jax was 5. Okay. So then what did you do after that?
We had already been in semi-lockdown because he just kept getting so sick all the time, and I just needed a way to stop the madness. Because prior to that, he was in like an outdoor preschool and all of these things, and he was acquiring just typical little boy, little kid viruses that his body couldn't handle. So when we got the IPEX diagnosis, we were already in semi-lockdown. We were wearing masks long before COVID, and then COVID hit soon after that.
Oh, that was scary.
That was incredibly scary because he had already been intubated with the flu. So I thought for sure that COVID was going to do him not. I just didn't think it was going to end well for him during COVID. But I had spoken to a few of my friends, and we had decided that I couldn't stay silent with Jax's medical issues any longer because I was keeping that a secret from everybody. Nobody knew how sick Jax was. I was working full time, like I mentioned, and I just kept all of that separate, and I kept it quiet because I just didn't feel like I wanted to share that. And then when I realized that the only way to save him was to tell the world, I started to talk.
Yes.
And we created Be the Match for Jax. And within a few short years, we had registered over 7,000 people to the blood stem cell registry in Jax's honor. And I did that because I have a voice that never ends.
Good for you.
Yeah. And
you couldn't sit back and just watch this because it's going to be happening to another mom.
It's going to be happening to another mom. And what good am I doing, Jax, if I remain quiet and hope that somebody else is going to care about this and do something? So I decided I was going to do something for us. And we canvassed all over the United States, in Mexico, in Puerto Rico. We held drives all over. I did not stop. And I had a small group of very good friends who helped me canvass. And we were at every event that would let us in, every event. And we registered over 7,000 people. I get countless emails, messages every day saying, hey, I signed up for Jax, but I've been called to save another person's life, so I'm going to go do that. So Jax has saved many, many lives just being him. And so I always say, if I can put so much out good into the universe, it's got to come back twofold to him.
Karma. You got to have that happen to you.
Yeah.
When you were saying before too, Missy, when you were saying like mix, is that because I feel like we're all mixed now? We all have different, nationality, or we all have like genetically. Does that matter? Like
It
for
does
looking
matter.
for a stem cell? Okay.
Yes, it does matter in terms of a diverse background. So Jax's father's family has roots from Mexico. And so when you are looking for a blood stem cell match, you're looking for your HLA typing, which is essentially how your immune system runs. And Jax's HLA typing is so unique that he probably has a 3% chance of finding a match. His doctor had once said, you're going to have a better luck winning the lottery. And I've never won the lottery.
But you know what? Why be so negative? You know, why not say to the mom that is just trying to advocate, trying to find this for their son, how about say, you know what? You never know. Like, let's get out there. Let's do stuff, Did anybody else like try to band with you and partner with you and help you?
Just my friends did. We also live a very different life because I'm not doing all the things that families typically do just because it's not safe for Jax. And so we lost a lot of people along the way just because they didn't understand our journey. But I had a small group of friends who every post I made, they shared. Every walk and talk that I made, they shared. Every event I had, they came to. And for that, I'm forever grateful because if you don't find a village early on, you cannot walk this walk alone.
You can't do this alone. You can't do this
You cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. And I remember meeting Stacy at a Pirates game. So the Pirates charity offered Jax a box because there was no other way for him.
He couldn't sit in the stands with other people around.
No, and we met Stacy there, and she asked me what organization I was with, and I was like, well, it's like semi my own, semi not a real organization. I'm part of NMDP, but I told her why, and we became fast and furious friends. And again, it's the village. It's the people that immediately have empathy for you as a mom, for your child, and they want to help. And she was on board right away. I think she followed every single one of my social media handles within that hour.
Yes. And, she is that type of person that she's an empath. And she wants to help, in so many ways. And when she reached out to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to look this up. And I was like, wait. Wow. Being a mom, even if you're not a mom and you're out there and you just knowing the stress and going to bed at night, like, oh my gosh, like just worry. And you're trying to have a normal life, but it's really hard
It's really hard. For a lot of years, there was no sleep. There was me laying down and doing research to try to figure out if a blood stem cell transplant was not his journey, what is.
What's the other options?
Yeah.
Right.
And so through that, the universe provided, and we found Dr. Rosa Bacchetta, and she is from Italy. She's the longest running researcher of IPEX, 23 years.
Wow.
She moved to the United States and she began researching through Stanford University about IPEX. And so we connected. Her clinical trial had not opened yet. Her clinical trial was going to open soon, but it was going to be only for adults. So I had a long time to wait. So we continued to canvas for blood stem cell matches. And in the back of my mind, I always wondered if a blood stem cell transplant was never going to be Jax's journey anyway. And through the years, I learned that it probably isn't, because for Jax, his doctors were afraid, and continue to be so, that we would do a transplant and we would trade IPEX for other really terrible medical issues, and then IPEX would grow back anyway. So we would be doubly worse off. And so I started working with Dr. Rosa, and we were sending labs about Jax to her, and she was learning more and more about his IPEX and the way that his disease progresses. And it's a very complex disease progression. And so Jax was different even from the go, and he presented atypically from the typical IPEX patient. So now you've got a rare disease child who presents even more rare in that space. And so that used to keep me up at night, because I thought, is it worse? Is it better? But nobody knows. That's the reality. Because it's so rare, there's very few folks in the literature that even have type 1 diabetes and myasthenia gravis. I think there's one other IPEX patient that presents like Jax.
So she didn't say, oh, I've seen this before. Like, she hasn't, because she's been doing that research for so long.
She's treated IPEX patients, but Jax doesn't present classically, and he has other implications because of the disease than maybe the typical IPEX patient. What we're learning is maybe that's better. So we waited a long time for the clinical trial, and she thought I was the nuttiest mom ever. I remember I never wanted Jax to fly commercially because he couldn't do it. I just knew.
Right.
We've all been on commercial planes, you know?
Oh, yeah. The coughing, the hacking, the sneezing.
The coughing, the hacking, the sneezing, all of it. The touching, all of it. So I presented to her when it became open. She had called me and said, I think it's time that you consider coming out to California. And I said, I don't want to fly. Can I rent an RV and drive out? She was like, Missy, that's days. Then you would have to live in the RV for months at a time. And I was like, Dr. Rosa, we can do it. Because at that point, I was so desperate to move on and find something for him. And I knew it wasn't a cure because it's only phase 1. Phase 1 is for safety only. I was literally signing.
You're right.
Yeah, I was signing him up saying, I understand that there are risks. I understand that we might not come home with Jax. That was my best option.
Yes.
So being in an RV seemed like the only obvious answer to me. So she said no, and the FDA wouldn't allow it anyway, because the FDA gets involved in their very persnickety about how you arrive at Stanford. Wow. So we waited a couple of more months, and my community came forward, and they presented to me an opportunity, and somebody in my community had a private airplane, and they flew us to California.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was the most extraordinary experience. And I remember saying to him, are you the Taylor Swift of Zelienople? Because it was literally like something out of a movie. They were like, Missy, I think we have somebody. He said, yes. I called him. He was like, absolutely. I have a son Jax's age. I would do this for him. And so they flew us back and forth 3 times, I think, throughout the course of a year to visit Stanford and go through this phase 1 clinical trial.
Wow. And so when she first met Jax, what did she say?
She calls him her little man. Remember, she's very Italian, and
Yes.
and Jax came with a lot of questions, and they were fast and furious friends. He became her lab assistant.
Oh,
He got to go into the lab. He got to go into the stem cell lab, see his stem cells regenerated. So I probably should explain that for the listener. The phase 1 of the clinical trial was, again, for safety only, which means they needed to see if how she was genetically modifying the cells was safe to keep in the body. The only thing that if it became unsafe, they had a medicine that would flush it all out. And so that made me feel better.
gosh. I
Yes.
know.
Yes. So we moved to San Jose And we loved it. We loved California. Everything's outdoors. Unlike here, when now it's summer and it's too humid to be outside. In California, we had a second lease on life. Everything's outdoors. There's hiking, there's ocean, there's mountains. There's just so many things.
Riding bikes.
Riding
Yeah.
bikes, like whale watching. There's just so many opportunities. So we spent almost all of it outdoors. And even if we wanted to go to a restaurant, everything was outdoors. So I would just call in advance and say, hey, I'm participating in a clinical trial. We really just want to stay away from people. They were like, oh, honey, we have you. They would call us Jack's their special Stanford friend. And they would put us in a special place and just make sure everything was just copacetic for us.
That's so nice.
Yeah. So we lived in California for about 9 months, and the phase 1 clinical trial extracted Jax's cells, genetically modified them, and transplanted them back. So he will be, August 21st will be his second year of the first round of genetically modified cells.
Wow. And how is he doing with that?
So I love answering this question because we weren't sure what was going to happen. Again, we knew we weren't walking into a cure, but we thought that we might come out with something better. And all of his labs have been incredibly impressive in the medical literature, meaning they've seen positive growth. So what labs used to be way below average and scary are now sitting within the average range. Doctors
Wow.
are saying to us, we'll see you in a year. We'll see you in 5 months. Let's take you off this medication, that medication. That has never happened to him. He's on so much medication, it could make a head roll. But some of it we're actually weaned off, and some of it we're currently weaning off.
Wow.
Mhm.
I know they do say sometimes you take too much medicine and it might be actually worse.
Yeah, for him, he wouldn't survive without it.
Yeah. So now he's weaning off some of the medication, and
Yes.
how's he feel?
He feels great. He's bigger and stronger.
So he's growing the same and everything.
He actually, his growth has accelerated. So IPEX boys are typically failure to thrive and shorter in stature. He is after maybe a year of our genetically modified cells being transplanted back. He's grown. He's almost as tall as me. He's like 5'2" in some now.
Oh, wow.
He's 112 pounds.
How old is he?
He is 11.
He's 11. Missy.
He shot up, and he's so proud of himself. And, you know, things that would normally really take him out have not. And things that normally we would be thinking, we're going to the ER for this, have not. His type 1 diabetes is easier to control. He doesn't get ketones anymore, which made him incredibly sick. Ketones come from your blood sugar being too high. And because his blood sugar wasn't responsive to insulin, really, he would be feeling sick all the time. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
We do. And so through this whole journey, I was approached by some folks to become the president of the IPEX Foundation. So the IPEX Foundation was started by a group of families, a small group of families who saw a need to create a foundation. And they
Absolutely.
wanted a way to do something with it, but they just, in spaces in their life, were not able to do that.
Right.
So while we were in California, I was approached by another partner, and he said, can you join me? We've seen you do great things with Be the Match for Jax, and we want to partner with you. And I was like, let's do this.
Yes.
Because I want to be the voice for the rare disease space, the rare disease moms. We are sorely glossed over and underfunded. And so now the IPEX Foundation is raising awareness and funding. We need $2 million to bridge the gap between phase 1 and phase 2 of this clinical trial that I was speaking of. So for Jax and his fellow IPEX boys to actually move forward and see if this becomes a true viable treatment, we need to bridge this gap. And it's urgent.
Right.
It is urgent.
So that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, okay, you were in California for 9 months.
Yes.
And how are you working? How are you even paying for the bills?
Yeah,
Like it's
such a good question because where I work, they were incredibly flexible. So I worked virtually as much as I could, and I took FMLA when I could. My work, hats off to them, honestly. because they could have said no to every request I gave, but they didn't. And sometimes I say to them, we owe Jax's life to them.
Oh, you know what? They see a wonderful woman who is fighting for her son. I mean, what kind of company or, that's the employee you want, because this person's going to fight for you.
Yes.
Because she is a fighter. She's a warrior. She's going to get this done. Like that I see the, in your eyes, and just talking to you on the phone before we had this interview, I'm like, this woman's a powerhouse. She is out there. She is making sure that and your videos, you're walking, you got your hair back, you don't care.
I don't
You're
care.
like, people, I am here to help other children, other families, other moms going through this with IPEX, but I need to help my son.
I need to help my son. I need to help the other families. I get messages every single day from families who are living the nightmare that we're living. And all of us are usually single income families, because one of us has to stay home and take care of the kids, right? Excuse me. So a mom reached out to me in the beginning of June, and she said, I lost my son to IPEX. He was only 20 months old. Please keep talking, keep yelling from the mountains in his memory. And I will never forget that.
Yes. You know what? You are the voice for all these other moms and dads that have lost a child through this, And to me, like that right there, like, Missy, you're helping so many families, because like you said, I never heard of it. I didn't even know it was out there. And you were like, I am finding, thank God for that woman in Italy.
Yes.
That
Thank God
came
for
to
Dr.
the
Rosa.
States,
Mhm.
to do this testing, to do this genetic. I feel like you actually have to have like a tribe of people. You have to have people that are in your corner that are willing to help you through anything.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't do it without my husband, Pete. He's the backbone of the house while I am out working, and then or advocating for rare disease, and then or just shouting from the mountaintops about IPEX and how we need to raise this these $2 million.
Right.
It's so urgent. And if the listener could just even do a couple of things from walking away from this today, it would be go to our website. There are loads of pictures of real life boys with IPEX on there, present and past. And there's a nice banner at the top that says, you want to do something, donate $2, $5, whatever it is, whatever you're called to donate. All of that money is going to go directly to families or directly to this clinical trial to raise the $2 million, because these boys deserve the life. My new tagline is, they need to stop chasing life and live it, because
Right.
that's really what we're doing.
What is your website?
It is the IPEX.Foundation. You can find it anywhere on my social media handles. I am on.
You're on TikTok. I see you on
I'm
Facebook,
everywhere.
on Instagram. And if they would find you on socials, it would be Match for Jax.
You can go to either Facebook or Instagram, Be the Match for Jax or IPEX Foundation. I'm on both of those. And then on TikTok, I'm Jax Needs a Hero. And my TikTok is a little bit different, where I talk about Jax, I talk about the rare disease, I talk about just all of the needs. I shout out big creators to see if they will help. But I also do another piece, and it's talking to anybody who wants to listen, because it's not necessarily moms, but anybody that's going through a grieving space, how to love yourself and take care of yourself in that time. Because I lost myself in the diagnosis, and I had to crawl out of a hole to find myself, and I did that. And I came back. Like, I feel like I came back tenfold, and we're going to do this. And I'm not giving up until we get the 2 million, until these boys are saved, until Jax goes through phase 2, and it's done.
You can't go to the government or try to help, get something passed.
I mean, I could, but it's going to take years to do that, right? So there is some movement in the rare disease space at the government level, and I'm involved in some of that loosely. But again, that's going to be years. We need.
I don't have years. I want to get this done. There's, there might be, I don't know how many children that have this in the United States.
A lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably. It's 1 in 1.6 million. I think there's like 350 cases worldwide, maybe. A lot of our families are international, seeking Stanford's help. But there are folks in the United States, some locally, some just in a couple of states below us. I mean, I have families reaching out from all over, to be honest with you. Texas, North Carolina, Brazil, London, France, you name it.
Oh,
I've
wow.
heard from them. And we have some boys here in Pittsburgh that are diagnosed with IPEX.
Oh, God.
So it's just, it will do more good. And if we raise the $2 million and we move forward with the clinical trial, it's not just for IPEX. So the way that Dr. Rosa is conducting the trial, it could also be a possible treatment for other rare diseases. So there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot. So I got to speak at the NIH in February during Rare Disease Day, and then I spoke at the Stanford Medical. I spoke at Stanford Medical in the spring, I think March or April, and I got to learn a lot about what other clinical trials, how other clinical trials are funded, and just they wanted to hear from a parent what it was like to be out at Stanford, go through the clinical trial, and just what it was like as a mom living with a son who has an ultra rare disease. And there was a lot of people in that room. Some people held Nobel Prizes, and they came up to me and they said, "You just moved mountains in this room, and I don't think you know it. I think, you're on the right track. Just keep talking." And I put that in my little pocket. And I was like, I'm going to keep talking.
I'll tell you what, yes. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep speaking about it, talking about it, because not out of sight, out of mind, but people don't, if they don't know anybody or they just don't know how to help. So that's the other thing is like, should people get tested to try to help?
What they should do is follow me on the IPEX Foundation socials, and they should follow us on Be the Match for Jax. And if you're on TikTok, Jax Needs a Hero. The other thing that you should do is go to the IPEX Foundation website, and you should share our story. You should talk about it. You should share it with companies. We're a 501c3. We are tax deductible. We should be the next charitable organization. If you're hosting a gala, if you're doing a fundraiser, if you're doing a golf outing, we should be considered because we are real time saving lives. There is no money going, there's no overhead costs. All of our financials go directly to the patients.
And if you think about it, Missy, there's like, for example, like breast cancer awareness,
Yes.
There's so many different organizations that are raising money. So it's like, okay, you don't need like 5 different organizations. You have the Susan G. Komen, but why not put the money and efforts into helping, families with IPEX?
The sad part about rare disease is that our families are so riddled with the rare disease, right? Because it's rare, they're sick, they're managing. I mean, for Jax, I probably manage 9 specialists, right? And so if you don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to be talking about it, nobody knows how dark and scary the rare disease path is. And so the more that we elevate this idea of, putting a spotlight on all rare disease, IPEX, the boys, the families, I think more people will start to cue in. And maybe my hope is that we become just as known as Susan G.
Right.
Komen, all of the other charitable organizations that do so much good. I want to be up in that upper echelon because rare disease deserves the spotlight too.
And you are the face of it now. Like, you know about it. Now, how is your family now? Like, does your younger son, is he able to go to school?
So both of my boys do cyber school, and that is an intentional choice because kids are sick. I work in a school. I see it firsthand, and we are not willing to jeopardize Jax's health for that at this juncture.
Right.
Do my boys want to go to brick and mortar school? Absolutely, they do. They just want to be in the mix. They don't know any different because Jax started kindergarten during COVID, so all they know is virtual school.
Right.
And my littlest started preschool virtual during COVID. So all they know is virtual school. I mean, our district does a fantastic job of including my kids. They have field trips. They do community events. So they're in the mix a little bit, but not as much as they want. So because of the clinical trial success, phase 1, we did swallow our anxiety and we signed them up for a golf league this summer. So they've been participating in golf every week.
Aww.
And that has been, my mama heart cries every time I see them out there in a group of 15 boys cheering and jumping and high-fiving.
But they're outside.
But they're outside.
Yes.
And they're loving it. And I think it was the best decision I made. I almost pulled them out of it because I was so scared Jax was going to get sick. And it's been a fantastic experience.
I love that. And, you know, Jax knows everything. He knows everything about him. You know, he's now like, he can talk about it too, you know.
He can talk about it too. And he will walk away. If somebody coughs, both my boys like find themselves in a different direction.
I can understand that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we have a lot of medical trauma and we work through that at home. You know, luckily, my job as a school psychologist, I'm able to talk with them about their feelings. And, you know, we talk a lot about the anxiety gremlin. And if we feed the anxiety gremlin, it gets bigger. And so there's just a lot of different strategies I use. And I actually take that to social media because there's a lot of moms that don't know what to do when anxiety spikes. And it spikes for all of us, just in different ways.
Right. You want to just go sit in the corner and cry.
Yes.
You know, why is this happening to my baby?
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, we're just open and honest and we just talk about it all.
I am so glad that you are at that point where you're just like, you know what? I got to do this. I'm focusing on my family. I'm focusing other people that have this rare disease. And IPEX, I got to really kind of find out because if it's been around for how long?
For a long time.
Yeah. And people don't talk about it. It's like, why aren't we talking about this?
Yeah. What actually opened my eyes is before Jax, I actually miscarried. And
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And I talk about this because that's not talked about nearly enough as it should be. But after being out in California and Dr. Rosa and I having very like intimate conversations about IPEX and what that means for Jax and his future, when I mentioned having a miscarriage, she said that baby may have also had IPEX and life wasn't viable. And that hit me because I thought, my gosh, like we just need to know more. We need to be better informed and have better resources for these families. Because had I known at that time, had we done the right genetic panel when I was pregnant, Jax would be in a different space.
Right. Because you don't know, and you don't know the mix of, you know, when you are married and you have children, you don't know what the genetics for both of you. And once you come together, because I have a friend that her two kids are both like legally blind, and there was some type of genetic thing that when they came together, it caused that, which they would have never known.
Right.
You
never know.
And it put a lot of pressure on them as, you know, parents, as a family, you know, to be like pointing fingers, you know, at each other. And that's the hardest thing too.
I remember when we found this out and, you know, moms pass it to their sons. So I gave it to Jax. I had to really sit with that. And I had to really lean into this idea to not blame myself because it's very easy to be like, I did this. I did this to my child. And there were folks on the internet that also reminded me that I did this to my child because social media can be a powerful tool when it's chosen with
and people
positivity.
hiding under their comments, you know,
Hiding under their comments.
And you know what? Obviously, they don't know what it's like to be a mom. You know,
do not.
And to have that kind of thing, you know, even putting that on you, you could. That is something that you should never think about. That's not, you brought this beautiful child in this world.
Yes.
You know, it's not like you even knew. Like it was just like
there's no idea.
No.
And I remember, you know, my family was like, why him? Why you? Why this? Why us? I can't live in the past.
No.
It is what it is. And I need to make lemonade out of lemons. I mean, period, end of story. So if he has IPEX, again, it's the cross we're going to bear, and we're going to do what we can. And Jax and I have a tagline together, we can do hard things. And that's what I tell every mom that comes across my social media page, whether it is IPEX, I get families with reach out to me with their children who have other rare diseases. And I have families who reach out to me and their child has cancer. And I will say, together we can do hard things. Just, you know, just listen and lean in to your heart and follow us, because not every day is peaches and cream, but we're going to smile, because every day is a great day to have a great day. And you just smile.
Let's wake up and let's just enjoy the day and enjoy each other. You know, I love that. You have such a great attitude, Missy. Like, I feel like hopefully there's somebody out there listening right now that's saying, oh my gosh, I've heard of this. This happened to me. Or, hey, you know what? I really want to get involved and help out, because it is hard to try to raise that money, because the stem cell transplants is that what
essentially,
is expensive.
Yeah.
Which that even, to me, like, that doesn't make sense to me, because I'm almost like, so you're going to tell these families who don't have enough money to try to save their child's life, and you're gonna, it's just having like trying to raise money and funds for that is so hard.
It's so hard. Well, we are having another event. So I'm a school psychologist by trade. Midway through my career, I was like, well, actually through my grad school, I was like, should I be an event planner? Turns out, as the IPEX president, you plan a lot of events. So we're
Right.
having another event in my town of Zelienople at T&M Hardware. It's going to be a touch a truck experience. So you can pay to drive the diggers and the skid steers and everything. So that
How
will be August 12th
fun.
at 5 o'clock in Zelienople, actually Harmony, PA.
Okay.
But we'll have food trucks, and we're going to have a coffee truck. We're going to be flipping burgers.
So all that money, all the proceeds
Will go to the IPEX Foundation. Yeah, so come on out and enjoy the fun. I mean, there's going to be a band there, this, that, and the other thing is going to be playing. They're going to be doing an acoustic set. There's going to be the Munching Moose from Zelienople will be serving up treats, and he's hilarious. He does a moose call. And if you have not had something from the Munching Moose, you need to, because it's great.
It's delicious.
It's delicious. And we will also be selling. So Jack's has two things in Zelienople. He has a Jack's Burger at Burgers, and you can buy a Jack's Burger. All the proceeds will go to the IPEX Foundation, and you can buy that at the Burgers in Zelienople, the Burgers in Lawrenceville, the Burgers in Millvale, and there's one in the South Side. So at any Burgers location, you can get a Jack's Burger. It's a double smash patty.
That sounds good.
It's so good with double cheese, bacon, and pickles. Cheat code is special sauce on the side and fries. So we have that. And then we also have the Jack's Blend. And that is a special curated wine from Papa Joe's Winery in Zelienople. So a bottle is $100. All of the proceeds go to the IPEX Foundation. And we did a limited bottle. So I think we're down to about 100 bottles. I'm hoping to sell that out by the end of the month. So go to Papa Joe's Winery, get a bottle. All proceeds go to the IPEX Foundation. And it's a beautiful red blend. It's a Barbera, Tannat, and Syrah blend. It's delicious.
Wow. And dine to donate, or donate and dine.
Yep. I keep saying wine for a cause.
Yes, like
dine to
any type of
donate.
restaurant, a lot of them do that, where some percentage of the receipt will go to the foundation.
Yes.
So that's always such a nice thing to have. And it should be not just in Zelienople. Like you said, we should be doing this in our whole state here. You know, like this is something that's, like you said, there's other Pittsburgh, children going through this and going through having a rare disease like that.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. I mean, who doesn't go out on a Friday and get a burger? Go to Burgers, order the Jack's Burger. You love wine, give it as a gift, right? Like, so I actually have a few bottles to give them as gifts, and it's a beautiful thing. And I have Jack sign it. We actually auctioned off the first bottle, and his doctor won, of all things. So that was awesome too. So he signed his bottle and delivered it to her personally.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Missy. I just so appreciate you sharing your story. And I'm so glad that you're able to get out there and talk about it. Talk as much as you're trying to get that awareness, information, trying to educate people, because you just educated me, that's for sure, about this. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on you wanted to mention? You have something coming up on August 12th. Anything else coming up in the works?
Not yet. I'm hoping to have a few other things coming up in the works, but I mean, ultimately, I think if somebody wants to do something, the very first thing that you could do is, I always say, I've spent $5 worth of places. Give it to the IPEX Foundation. And it's easy to find if you go to the IPEX.Foundation. It's right at the top of the banner. You can donate via PayPal or Venmo. If you want to donate a larger donation, we can give you a form for tax deductible purposes. If you are an organization and you host galas or you want to do a golf outing, we are happy to be your charitable organization. And I am happy to get my hands dirty and help you plan it, because it's actually become one of my favorite pastimes.
Right. Now you're an event planner.
Now I'm an event planner.
How many hats does Missy have? My goodness, you are doing a lot.
Many hats, yes.
Listen, you're a mom that cares, and you care about your babies, but you also care about other people that you couldn't even imagine if they went through what you went through. Like, what a terrible thing to go.
I never want any mom to feel the way that I felt at the beginning of the IPEX journey, because I was alone. I mean, I was literally alone. And now these other families who are newer diagnosed families have at least me to talk to. We've been through the clinical trial. We've been through horrendous medical events. We are able to get them access to other resources to help them navigate this journey, because it's not easy and they should never be alone.
No, you know what? They should never be alone. Thank you. That should be your tagline.
Yeah, thank you.
Missy, thank you so much for sharing your story. And if you're listening or you're viewing this episode, please try to help. We'll have the information below, how to get on the website. And I just appreciate your time and your beautiful babies. They got a strong mom and dad, and they're in their corner and they're doing all the things they can do. So I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
What an honor.
Thank you, sweetheart. This was another episode on Spill With Me, Jenny D. Take care.
Come spill with me. Come spill